All right, in this video, we're going to look at a Forex chart. We'll look at a 15-minute Euro US. Perhaps we'll look at some other pairs and some other time frames as well. Also, I want to introduce to you a bonus indicator that we decided to give to Counterpunch Trader members. The 20 simple moving average that I showed you before that was all blue is now been made better. It's going to turn red when it's down and blue when it's up. And so this is going to help us use it better for a filter. So when we're looking at this Euro USD trade plan, I thought it would be appropriate because we're only going to take long trades when our SMA is blue, and we're only going to take short trades when our SMA is red. I rolled the clock back. We're at the end of August. Let's jump to the beginning of the month. Let's just jump up to September 1st. We'll start there, and actually here we are on September 1st, and we're going to look at the European session and the US session. The European session will start at 2 a.m. and the US session we're going to start it at 8:30. You may discover that you want to start at different times, and that's fine, but just to give us a basis and all things being equal, this is how we're going to do it. We'll take a look at some of these on an MT4 chart as well. All right, so here we are, September 1st. And we're waiting for 2 o'clock, and here we are. Notice that we have an entry to go long right here. All right, now the first thing I want to say as part of this trade plan is that we only are interested in targets that are 10 pips or higher. And if the third target is less than 10 pips, we're going to ignore the trade. We're not going to take it. And in this case, you can see that target 1 is 6 pips, target 2 is 8 pips, target 3 is 11 pips. So after spread, we would make 9 pips on target 3. All right. So when I see this, I'm not going to exit my first 2 positions at target 1 and target 2. I'm going to exit my first position at the first place. I'll get 10 pips or more. Same with my second position. So all 3 fixed target positions come off on this trade at the third target. And this will be explained more in the trade plan, but just to give you a heads up. Also, remember, we can't get in if the line is red, only if it's blue, and it kind of vacillates around between blue, red, red, but then here it turns blue, and we get a chance to get in, okay, because it doesn't turn blue, of course, until after it moves up. So when it pulls back down, that's when we would get filled on this trade. You see? Then it goes up. Can you add to your position? I think you can do one add-on, but you could decide if you want to add to your position or not, because one of the things about Forex is the ability to put the right position size on your trade. You can control your position size by the clever use of micros and minis and full-size lots, depending on your capital. If you are going to add to your position, then you should only put 1% of your risk on any given trade. If you're not going to add to your position, then you can probably go 2%. Okay, maybe even more because of the high winning percentage. So you can see it comes up and it ultimately stabs up. It almost gets to that target. The target is at 31.38. It gets as high as 31.37.5, and it misses by half a tick, half a pip. When you miss by half a pip, you have to take action and mark it out, or at least move your stop a few pips below and try to, don't fight over a partial pip. It ends up going up all the way through anyway. Okay, so on a very small trade, you want to give it room to breathe also. So it's a nice winner, and if you're in on the add-on trade, you can see that one's gone all the way up to target 1, which is 10 pips, so you could take a quarter of your position off. And then, of course, you're trailing the jump line, and the rest of the position comes off right there. So the first trade is a winner, and we're done with this session. Let's move to the US session. Now remember, we're starting at 8:30. Notice with this new modified SMA, it's very clear and if we're going long on blue or not. Still no setups. Finally, we get a possible long, possible short. In the chop zone, we don't want to trade against the 50. And we get short right here, don't we? Because we're below the 50, we can go short. None of these bars close above the jump line. It doesn't get canceled. It gets short, and then it pushes up, but our stop's up here, and then it pushes, basically comes all the way here and closes. So if you're day trading, you close out at the end of the day, and you end up with a profitable trade because you're closing out right in here. Okay, remember it's a 15-minute chart. You could turn it into a swing trade if you want and hold it overnight, but then you have to manage it, and it could take a long time. It ultimately comes all the way down and hits all its targets. Same with an add-on trade. You see? So you have to make the decision if you can hold. Remember, 15-minute bars. And if you're using MT4, you can use a trade manager interface like myfx.com. That's how I trade Forex with my MT4 broker. I don't use my MT4 charts. I use my TradeStation charts. I'm trading through Owanda. And Owanda has New York time-based charts on their MT4 charts, just like TradeStation uses Eastern Standard Time. So they're very close. So I prefer to use the TradeStation charts, which are much better, and then I won't trade directly through MT4. I'll trade through myfx.com so I can manage my positions, and that interface is with MT4 right into my broker. If you have any questions on that, you can just ask me in the trade room, and I'll be happy to go over that in greater detail. So let's go to the next session. Okay, we're not looking at the Asian session with the Euro US. If we're going to trade the Asian session, I want to stick to Aussie pairs and yen pairs. And you can do very well with the Asian session. So we're looking for 2 a.m., first trade of the day. So here we are, 2 a.m. Can we get in sync with the counterpunch? Yeah, except that the EMA is down. Okay, it finally turns up, but we're in the squeeze zone. We don't want to trade up against the 50 EMA. So the green trade becomes the trade that you would take. And look at that, it zooms right to target. Power of quitting 1, you're done. Got the benefit of a news release. Counterpunch is really good at preempting the move of a news release. And I'm assuming that's a news release just because of the big move there. But a lot could happen in 15 minutes. It'll look a lot different on a tick chart. So let's go to the US session. All right, so 8:30. We can't go long here because the SMA is down. Remember, we're using the trend following technique for this Forex trade plan. And it goes up and it hits a target, and there's a, we wish we would have taken it, but we can't. We're sticking to our rules. And so still no trade. Kind of getting late into the session, still no trade. Finally a long trade here, but it's at 12:15. So we're only going to trade this up until noon. So no trade on the US session. And it ends up, you would have come off of it. You would have made a tiny bit if you traded into the afternoon. But we don't like trading into the afternoon with most Forex during the US session because the market gets too slow. Okay, obviously there are always exceptions, but as a general rule. All right, so now we're in the next session looking for 2 a.m. And here we are at 2 a.m. and we got a possible long trade here, but the indicator is red. Okay, now we could set this to intra-bar to update intra-bar where the line is updating in real time. And so you may decide, well, it's turning blue. I can see it turning blue. I'll go ahead and take that trade. If you're going to trade like that, which is not a bad idea, just make sure you test it first. All right? Because otherwise, you can't take that trade until it stabs down. It went kind of far, though. Target 1, well, it's only 10 pips. It's not really that far. So you get in sync with it when it stabs down. Hasn't hit target 1, hasn't stopped out. Now the blue line is up. So ultimately, that's when you're going to get that trade, right? And then it comes down a little bit. The stop holds, and then it zooms right on up, hitting target 1, target 2, target 3. You see? Worked great. That's what 15-minute chart's going to look like. So what I love about the 15-minute chart trading Forex is that you literally are going to have one, maybe two trades per session, very low stress, high winning percentage, not a lot to do. You can control your trades, and since it wins about 80% of its sessions on average, you can have a really great Forex day trade plan and really control your trades with nice sized trades. And using this 20 SMA with the colors here makes it really easy to always be on the side of the market that's going to have the highest odds. Let's look at the US session. Here we are at 8:30. Line is blue. Got to go long. Now it turns red. Could you come down and take this trade? I don't see why not. It hasn't stopped out, except that now you're in the chop zone. You see how it's choppy here? And so we're in the chop zone. Since we're above the 50 EMA, we don't want to trade down against the 50 EMA. So for that reason, you wouldn't take that trade. What about this next setup? Well, the line's still red. The line is red now, so still red. But then it turns blue and goes up. So you're still waiting for a red line. Can't really do anything. Finally, it turns red on the next bar, but it's already gone through unless you're using intra-bar, where it's turning red while the bar is forming. Okay, we just talked about that a moment ago. So really, if you're waiting for the close of the bar, you end up with this trade. Okay, and it's going to not really work. None of these are going to work. See how it starts going up, and it ultimately is going to, that time it's going to stop out. All right, let's go to the next session. Not every trade, not every session could be a winner. The good news is that it was just one trade, right? Just one trade. That's what's good about the 15-minute chart. One a day, one per session is typical. All right, so now we're going to 2 a.m. and we're in the chop zone, so we don't trade against the 50. It pushes higher, and you have a long trade right here. But that long trade is right up against the high of the day, isn't it? So do you want to adjust around it? Yeah, you probably do. Okay, so you got the high at 31.53. You got the entry at 31.53. Do you go up to 31.54? I mean, I think 1 pip is enough. You might want to go all the way up to 31.56, get through the key level, but remember you got to add spread on top of that, so now you'd be making like a 5 pip adjustment. Just by going the 1 full pip, look, it comes up and it doesn't get to 54. It gets to 533, and that one smart little chart level adjustment around that resistance level at the top of the chart there saves you from a losing trade. All right, so you're still waiting, still waiting. You got to set up here, but again, the line is red. It turns blue, but it's already up to here, and then it triggers in. Okay, so it does trigger in, and that trade looks like it wants to fail, doesn't it? The stop is way down here, so big risk, and you know it seems bigger than it is because the stops are scaling. The chart is scaling based on the bars on the chart, so it's not really that big of a risk. You're only risking 15 pips. It's really not that much. It just seems bigger than it is. Okay, so you have to watch out for scaling. And then you get the short. And the short, you got the line working with you. The 50 EMA looks like it's starting to try to push down towards the 200, and then it triggers in, and you get a nice target. And that target is 16 pips. Okay, and then it comes up, and you're going to stop out, break even with the rest of the trade. Of course, it pushes down even further, but I don't know how you stay in it if you're using the money management rules that we've been using. Do you take one more trade? Well, it's within the time frame. It's not noon yet, so you do have a short. Notice you got all the lines fanning down, indicating a real strong trend, and you can make a little adjustment around the low of the day right there. And then if you do take it, it's a nice move and a nice strong winner. See? And done for the day. Let's look at another session. Okay, so this is getting to the 5th. And 2 a.m. The line is up. You got a nice trade. You can't really take this trade because you're going against the 50 EMA. You may make an exception though because you have enough room to hit your target 1, target 2, and target 3. The only problem is target 1 is from 38 to 43. It's not even 10 pips. In fact, you have to go all the way to target 3 just to get 10 pips on this trade. So maybe that's a trade you just ultimately avoid. It's going to work. It's going to come all the way up and hit it. Everything is up. You can't get short here because there's no trade. The histogram is up, never signaled down. That's why we have that rule on counterpunch trades. So you could get in sync with this if you didn't take it already, because you're out of the chop zone. So here you're in the chop zone. It doesn't go 10 pips, so that's not really money management. It comes down. You're not in the chop zone anymore. You can get in sync with the trade. Not trying to think it through too much. I'm just trying to stay with the general concepts and principles we've been talking about. The line is blue. Why can't you get in sync? The stop holds, and it ends up going up. All your targets are going to exit at that third target, and then you trail the jump line, and it ends up getting all the way up to here. So not a bad trade at all. Now you're looking for the U.S. session, and 8:30, you got all the news coming out, so you got to watch out for 8:30 news, and then you get a short, but it's against the up blue line. Now it turns red, and then it comes down and triggers in, so you get in sync with it on that red, and it ends up going down a little bit. I guess the one thing I would say is that when I said get in sync with this trade, we forgot to check the chop indicator. So we actually wouldn't get in that because we don't want to short against the 50. We're above the 50. We don't want to short when we're in chop, even though it looks like it's going to go part of the way. We can go long because we're in chop. We're above the 50. You can go long there. Blue, long, it's already too late in the day anyway. So really there's just no trades to be had during the U.S. session. Now if you were to start earlier, maybe, but then you're not in the U.S. session anymore. Then you're kind of in that bridge between the Euro and the U.S. session. Okay, so you just got to watch out. So looking for 2 a.m. You can see some Asian session trades working out here, but like I said, we're not doing that. So here's a short. The line is red, but the targets are too small, so we have to ignore it. Can you go long here? You're looking for one more trade? Well, the line's red. Finally turns blue, then it comes up, then you can get long on this bar. Okay, remember we're following the trend following technique where we're following the SMA. So that's the reason. And that one, look at how it ultimately works its way up. How far, I don't know. So you're getting long at 29.48. Maybe you adjust around 29.50. So maybe you're getting short way up in here. So then it doesn't really go that far. Turns red and goes down, but let's face it, we're in the U.S. session now. So this long trade, ultimately, you're getting in sync. You're probably going to be going for the green trade because that's a newer trade. So when it comes up, you end up in the green. And the green is at 46, not at 48. So you're probably getting long right in this area. Still doesn't go very far. I mean, it gets as high as 56. Not really enough to do anything. So that trade during the European session is going to lose. On the U.S. session, you know, it turns red. You're able to grab it, and it ultimately works its way down. Look, boom. So even though, see how the scaling affects what the chart looks like? Here they look like really big bars, okay? But they're really not. You just got to watch out for the scaling. You got the red working for you. It does trigger in. The stop is up here. And then ultimately it pushes down. You can add to your position maybe, either here or here. It's up to you. But notice how it comes down, and it's going to hit all the targets. And it's hitting big targets because, remember, well, let's see, red. Oh, yeah, no, it would have been this smaller. Would have been this one because that one triggered in before this one set up. So you're hitting target 1, target 2, target 3. If you're adding to your position here, you're hitting target 1, target 2, target 3. And then even this one hits all its targets too, you see. But that one is already at 12:45. At least this one is still in the AM. even though it doesn't trigger in until the afternoon. A lot depends on how long you want to trade for. Okay, but it ultimately worked its way down for a really nice big winning session. Okay, let's look at some others. So here's a 15-minute chart for the CAD yen, and I just went back to any random time. If you want to start during the Asian session, I mean that's pretty much close to when the session opens. Remember, this is New York Standard Time, so the Asian session you want to wait for the spread to normalize, because when the markets first open up down under, you get these huge spreads, and you wait a little while, and then the spreads come back to normal. Okay, so you want to wait for that. And you do have a short trade right here. Good sized trade. The targets are off the chart, but it's blue going up. So keep your eye on it. It does turn red. It does stab down. So there you go. There's your setup, and you're getting in right there. Right? It turns red. Bar comes down. Doesn't turn blue until after it closes again. So that's a purple trade. Second chance swing, pushes lower. Where's it going to go? I mean, it's a pretty choppy market, but look at how you avoid long trades because the line is red. Can't take longs. Now you're in the chop zone. Can't trade up against the 50 anyway. Starts pushing lower. Could you add to your position? Yeah, you could there, maybe there. The more you do this, the more you're going to see how you can build a position. If you did add here, it might have stopped out when it stabbed up. Okay, so maybe you take another chance. But remember, we're in the primary trade, and we're trading the Asian session, but because it's a 15-minute bar, it takes us into the European session as well. So here we are at 2 a.m., and the line is blue, but then it turns red, and so you could take that, and that one comes up and stops out. The stop is up here at 96.25. Maybe you get it off the key level to 96.26, but that one stabs up to 96.254. You see? So it really doesn't stop out when you adjust your stop off of the key level up to 26. It almost stops out. So the European session gets you in here, again adding to your position there if you want to, and then it pushes down, hits all these targets. These are small targets, so maybe you ignored that trade anyway, or you trail only, or you just wait for the next setup. So many different ways. But look at the original Asian trade, Asian session trade. We didn't get into here, but look, target 1 gets hit, target 2 hit perfectly. Target 2 is at 95.96, and that bar stabs down to 95.96. Like I said, this works in mysterious ways. It even goes down further, and it gets to the third target, and the third target is at 95.89, and that stabs down to 95.89. Again, mysterious ways, hits it perfect, and also hitting this third target as well. Plus trailing all the way down to at least to here. So you can see how powerful that is. CAD yen, I don't know if you'd want to trade it during the US session or not. You could test it and see, but I think you're good to go with the Asian session and the Euro session. I just went to any random old day. Let's look at one more day. October 28th. Markets open. Now you have a blue line. There's a long trade. 9 pips to the third target. Is it too small? Yeah, maybe. Or you just force it to 10 pips and then trail. You have a lot of flexibility once again. You get a short trade. You can't really take it till it turns red. It does turn red, but are you already done with power of quitting here? If you are, you wouldn't take that anyway. Okay, so now we're going into the the European session. You have a possible setup here, but by the time you turn to 2 a.m., the red line's down. So not sure you want to mess with that trade. It ends up winning, but you can take this trade, because that trade, it does turn blue when it comes up. And look at that, target 1, target 2, target 3, and trails all the way up to there. You even have more nice winners on the way up. So, a couple random sessions on the CAD yen following the exact same idea, the same trade plan. You can try this trade plan with any pair. I mean, try it with the pound Aussie. I've seen that work really well. You can try it with the euro Aussie. Try it with the euro yen. Any market where the spreads are, 3 pips. You don't want to pay too much because these are day trades. 2 to 3 pips is about right. And this 15-minute chart trade plan can work on a lot of different markets. You could try the Asian session, Euro session, or US session. Here we are looking at a Euro US on the 15-minute chart on Forex, on MT4. And, it's just a lot clumsier trying to trade with MT4. All right, so I had to close this and restart it. It's so new, I only just installed the indicator. So now when I go to custom, now I see my net picks, counterpunch, moving average. And we're going to change the inputs to 20. And we're going to change this to blue because that's the color I like, but you can put it any color you want. And I like my style to be thicker. Okay, there we go. Now we got it on there. Turn off auto scroll and let's just look at what happened on this last session. So 2 a.m., can you go short here? Well, that's at 1:30. You could look over here in the data window, and of course, if you hold the Alt key down, just hit the Alt key, it freezes the data window. Okay, so you can't really take that trade because then you end up with a long. And so can you get the long trade? Well, once it turns blue right in here. Remember, because this happens after 2 a.m., so you can get it. But what's the size of the trade? Your risk reward, it's showing you that it's 11 pips, 16 pips, 20 pips. So that trade's big enough and you can take it and it triggers in and it hits target 1, target 2, target 3, and then you trail the jump line and it stops out right there. And that's a profitable trade, one and done. This is just Friday. I mean, this is just the other day. Thursday. This is Thursday's trade. All right, so now we try to get to 2 a.m. Here we go. We're going to 8:30, and I'm watching the time on the data window. So here's 8:30. The line is red. It's down. It triggers in, but then it's going to come up, and that one stops out. So that first trade doesn't win. You have a long trade, but it's red, so you don't take it. Then you have another short trade. It's blue, but then it turns red, and then you can take it. And so that one, it doesn't get very far. The targets are way down here. So it does. It ends up making all those targets. You just have to hold it long enough. But you can see how MT4 works just as fun. It works just as well. It's just that, for me, I just find it cumbersome. And since you can get TradeStation for practically free anyway, why not just use the best charting service? You can still trade with any broker you want. All right, so there's some good examples of a 15-minute chart with Forex and how you might use it, and with a really great new trend indicator, the SMA 20 with your colors.